Stewart with the 17th overall pick. Was it a good pick? We're going to talk about it, give our instant reactions. But before we dive in, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and to follow us on Instagram and Twitter for all your Bengals news. So without further ado, the draft just ended probably like 15 minutes ago. And the Bengals drafted Shemar Stewart, like I said, an edge rusher from Texas A&M. So Zach, were your initial thoughts? And after sitting on the pick for a little bit, what do you think of it?
Initial thoughts, not happy, but I expect disappointment now out of this franchise, so not surprised. I figured we would find a way to screw this up. That was the initial reaction. After sitting on it for a while, I don't know. Nothing's really changed, honestly. It's really just kind of like one of those whatever type of things. I'm not excited about it, and I'm not really furious, I wouldn't say. I just think that there was a lot of different directions that we could have went that would have been a lot better. But, it's kind of just a thing now with me that I understand that whatever I think the Bengals should do, they're going to not do that. So it's just kind of a thing now where I've given my case actually multiple times as to why I do not believe this was the route to go. And I'll give it again real quick. Just keep it short. He is probably the most physically gifted defensive end in this class. He might be second only to Abdul Carter, if he's second at all. So he's a great physical specimen. Unfortunately, his on-the-field play does not reflect that. His numbers just aren't there. And the Bengals are so horrible on defense that we need a guy who's going to come in and immediately make a significant impact. We don't have time for a project. And I think Shemar Stewart's a project. So number one, we don't have time for a project. And number two, I don't think we have the people in the building to develop a project. Because, we've seen Myles Murphy and several other defensive players that we've drafted not pan out. So whether that's just their busts or we don't have the guys to develop them, I don't know. But I don't think this was the way to go for those reasons. But, after letting it sit for a while throughout the rest of the draft, like I said, feelings haven't really changed. I still don't think that was the route to go when you had Jahad Campbell on the board, who actually fell to the Eagles, which is crazy. So he's going to be insane. I don't know how the Eagles keep doing this. And then you've got Mike Green still on the board. You had those were really the guys that I think were in play. Shemar Stewart was not a guy that I was even considering, but not super thrilled about it. I think there are better routes that we could have went, but whatever, I guess, at the end of the day. I don't think we can afford a project.
Yeah. I had seen before the draft that they were kind of keying in on Stewart, but I wasn't sure, the validity of it. And especially, like you said, with the board with Mike Green, Jahad Campbell, James Pierce, guys like that, who I personally had higher. I'm still on the board. I would have liked to see them, but I'm optimistic about the pick. I'm not going to shoot it down just immediately, because I do think Shemar Stewart, like you said, he has the highest potential out of all of these edge rushers. I think we can look at him 2-3 years down the line if he hits and be like, how did that guy fall to 17? Like, all the signs were there. People just kind of overthought it, But the production is concerning. Only 4 sacks, I think, his whole career, which isn't great. But if you look at just his athleticism and his traits. He had a 9.8 RAS score, and players that had that score that were at least 260 that have been picked over the last 10 years are guys like Trayvon Walker, who went first overall, Miles Garrett, who went first overall, Rashad Gary, Daniil Hunter, Montez Sweat, and Hutchinson, guys who are really good pass rushers right now. So the potential's there, and they kind of had. I'll read some of the quotes that they said from their press conference just to kind of get in the mindset of like kind of what their thought process was. Zach Taylor obviously said that they anticipate for him to get a lot of production, and Al Golden said that he spoke with the A&M coach a couple of days ago, and he said that he loves the kid, loves the makeup, the way he plays, the way he prepares. He's a team guy. And then he said he has elite traits, which is something that they wanted. And then they asked Stewart, like, if about, him only having 4 sacks. And he said, this past year I was getting to the quarterback at the same time. It was just technical things on the way to the quarterback that I need to refine. It's not like I can't get there. I also led the team in pressures. It's just minor technical difficulties on my end. So for me, like reading that, if you watch the tape, he's insanely explosive. We know that he ran like a 4.5 or something. He was at like the top 1% of edge rushers and 40-time broad drum, 10-yard split, vertical. So he's an absolute athletic specimen. But there were a couple of times where he would get to the quarterback and he wouldn't finish the play. And then there was a lot of times where he would, just use his first step to get right by the tackle. So I think the biggest thing for him is, which he already said, he said, when I get into mini camp and OTAs and I'm going to be a fly on the wall with Trey Hendrickson. I'm going to learn as much as I can. And so I think if Trey Hendrickson can mentor him, because, one of Trey's best things is he's very fundamentally sound and very meticulous with how he uses his hands and how he uses his feet. And I think with bringing in Al Golden and bringing in new defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery, the hope is that they can kind of change the culture of the defensive line, like you were saying, how there's been a couple missed picks, and we're hoping that Jerry and Al can both unlock the potential of guys like Myles Murphy and hopefully refine the things that need to be refined with Shemar Stewart. But he has traits that you can't teach. You can't teach hard work ethic. You can't treat like a relentless attitude, some of his physical traits. You can't teach those. You can teach like the fundamental stuff. But I do agree with you. The Bengals aren't in a position where they can kind of bring a guy along slowly. Like they need guys who can come in right now and contribute. And not to say that Shemar can't, but I think guys like Mike Green, Jahad Campbell, James Pierce, I would feel more comfortable of them week one plugging in and making a difference on that other side of the defensive line. But I mean, it's a gamble, and I think obviously the Bengals know more about him than we do. They've done their due diligence, but we could look at him a couple years and he's the best edge in this class, or it could be like another one where it's like the signs were there of him being of him being like, a bust or whatever, and the Bengals didn't really put those into consideration. But I'm not gonna say it was a horrible pick. I'm like, it was all right. It wasn't the guy who I wanted, but there were worse options. And I think now it just comes down to him just kind of refining some of those technical tools, and hopefully he can do that as soon as possible.
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely a gamble. I mean, you're gambling with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase's prime here. So, yeah, I mean, this better pay off is all I got to say about that, because we can't look back 2 or 3 years down the line and say, oh, this was just another wasted first round pick. We can't have that. This was a draft that needs to be aced with every single pick. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the start that I was hoping for, but I mean, like you said, it could have been worse. We could have took Shadur Sanders. So, yeah. I mean, there could have been worse picks. It's just not. I think there could have been better picks too.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But
we'll
I
see.
mean,
We'll see what
yeah,
happens.
yeah. I mean,
Is
if he pans out, then he very well could end up being the best edge in this class if he pans out,
yeah.
and that's
Well,
huge. But
one thing that you do have to take into consideration is he right now is at 6'6", 290, which for an edge rusher is like huge. And
yeah,
so that was how the way that Texas A&M, I guess, runs their program is they like their guys on the bigger side. Like Nick Scorton's at like 290, and he was an edge rusher. And I think
yeah,
before he was at like 270 or whatever. So if he can slim down into that 275 range, he becomes more agile, more light, and then maybe he can, maybe that unlocks some more. Maybe he's just carrying too much weight. I mean, I haven't watched enough film to kind of see that on tape because obviously, I mean, he's still insanely fast, but
well,
I mean,
I mean, the crazy thing is that he was putting up those athletic numbers at 290.
yeah. So that's probably one of the things that intrigued the Bengals. So like this dude's just an athletic freak at
Well,
290. We can slim him down to 275, 280, and maybe we know we have to refine some things, but we trust Montgomery and Al to lead him along, and we're going to give Trey Hendrickson the task of mentoring him and kind of helping to mold him into the guy that he's supposed to be. So I
yeah.
mean, a lot of things have to. He's not a surefire pick, but I mean,
Well, he's also
when you
only
have a guy that's
21,
that,
so
yeah, he's still super young, and when you have a
yeah.
guy that has that athletic trait.
Mhm. I cannot hear you at all. What's happening? What just happened?